Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out another new foundation. This is the new Too Faced Born This Way matte foundation. I am very curious about this because the whole Born This Way line from Too Faced is supposed to be about like undetectable skin-like makeup that's supposed to make you look like you were born this way. So I'm really curious to see if they've achieved that with a matte finish foundation. So I do already have the makeup on, so let me know what your first impression is, but I'm going to take you guys back and show you what my initial reaction is, and we're going to be doing a wear test for today. So before we get into that though, for those of you who are returning visitors to my channel, thank y'all so much for coming back. I really appreciate your continued support. And for those of you who are new here, don't forget to subscribe before you head out today. I would really love for you to join my channel and help me continue to grow my channel. If you do subscribe, let me know in the comments so I can be sure to say thank you, because I would be very grateful if you decide to join today. Okay, you guys, let's jump right into it. Okay, so this new Too Faced Born This Way matte foundation, this is a lightweight foundation that provides medium to full buildable coverage. It's non-acnegenic, waterproof, oil-free, and transfer resistant, and should last up to 24 hours. Now, I think when they say up to 24 hours, I think that's kind of misleading because that could really be like any amount of time, but I'm thinking that it should last longer than the original Born This Way foundation, at least on my skin, because I have oily skin. This one has a very natural finish, so with this one having a matte finish, I'm expecting this one to last a little longer. So I picked up the shade Maple in this one. It's the same shade that I wear in the original liquid foundation, and I also have the powder foundation. I don't know where it is, but I do have the powder foundation in the shade Maple as well. So I'm not going to bother doing a swatch on this one because it should look the same as the other two. So I'm just going to shake this up a little bit. I don't hear like any movement in the bottle, so I'm assuming this is thicker than the original foundation. So I'm going to start off with one pump on each side. There wasn't really a full pump. Okay. So I feel like based on the consistency of this, it actually looks just a little bit thicker than the original foundation, but not by much. So I feel like I'm going to go in with a sponge for this one. So let's see. Hey guys, I'm editing the video right now and I'm just realizing that I forgot to mention that I don't ever initially test out new foundations with a primer because I like to see how it's going to operate on its own without any assistance from a primer. So that's why I went straight in with the foundation. So I do feel like it's blending out really nicely. I do think it is giving medium coverage, and it does just look like the same shade that I use in the other two foundations. The shade looks exactly the same. Okay, so I have the foundation on this side of my face, and then I have nothing over here, just so that you can compare foundation versus no foundation. So first impression wise, I do think it looks really nice. I do think it looks very natural. I wouldn't say it looks as skin-like as the original foundation, but it does look nice and natural looking. I can tell that it is kind of drying down to like a soft matte finish. Like it already doesn't look as shiny on my face as the original liquid foundation. So far it looks really nice, and I do think it is like a medium coverage so far. So I'm gonna go in with another pump on this side of my face, and then we're going to see if it's buildable. So then we're going to compare two pumps of the foundation versus one pump. Okay, so now I have one pump on each side of my face, and I can tell. So this one has been sitting for like a minute or two, whereas over here the foundation is freshly applied. And I hope you guys can see that as it does dry down, it does set to more of a matte finish compared to the original foundation. This one though, even though it hasn't fully set, to me it already looks more of like a matte finish foundation. So I like it so far. It looks nice. It does look like a natural foundation, not quite as skin-like as the original one, but I do think it looks really nice. Okay, so I feel like I'm getting medium coverage. Let's see if it is buildable. So I'm gonna put another pump on the first side of my face. So that second layer definitely covered more stuff up. I do think it covered like all of my scarring and all of my marks over here. So I do think it is buildable. So on this side I have 2 full pumps of the foundation. Over here I have 1. And I do think it built up pretty nicely. So let me go in with another pump on the other side. Okay, so I have 2 full pumps on my entire face, and this is what we are looking like. I wanted to mention at the beginning of this some of the key ingredients, and I forgot to talk about that. So both of these, the original foundation and the matte one, they both have coconut water, alpine rose, and hyaluronic acid. Those are 3 of the main ingredients in both of these. So that's what helps give like that skin-like, kind of like that undetectable finish, kind of like that quote-unquote born this way look. I like this. I think it looks really pretty. I do think it looks nice. But again, it just doesn't look quite as skin-like or quite as like undetectable as that original foundation. I think it looks a bit more like it looks like I have makeup on compared to the other one where it does look more like kind of like your skin but better type of foundation. To me, this one does look more, it looks more flawless, I guess. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Like this just looks like a more flawless version of the original liquid foundation, but I think it looks really nice. When I try out new foundations, I like to show y'all how my other complexion products work with it. So I'm going to go in with my everyday concealer and setting powder, and then I'll start the wear test. So for my concealer, I'm using the Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer in the shade Mocha. This is what I use on my under eye like 99.99% of the time. I've been looking for other under eye concealers just so that I can try other ones out. So if anyone wears the shade Mocha in this concealer, let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for any other concealers that I should try. Because I just feel like there's nothing else out there for me. Like I've tried other ones and they just don't work out. Either the shade or the coverage or something. So let me know. So what I like to do is I like to blend out my under eye concealer in 2 layers. So I'm going to quickly blend out this first layer with my sponge. And I'm not really being too precise about how I'm blending this one out. I'm just trying to get it blended out all in this area. Then I'll be a bit more precise with that second layer that I'm going to do in a second. All right, I'm going to go in with a second layer. Okay, so I like to let this second layer sit. Well, this is the first layer on the corners of my mouth, but for this under eye area, I like to let the second layer sit while I do my brows. So I'm going to do that off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to blend out the second layer of concealer. So I'm just getting my mouth first. I let the concealer sit right here too because I just have dark spots on the corners of my mouth. And then I'm also going to blend out the second layer under my eye with this brush. So I go in with a brush for the second layer and then I just try to blend it out like right where I want most of the coverage. And then I'll take some of the concealer and just drag it down and out a little bit. And normally I use an eyeshadow primer or I use a different concealer as an eyeshadow primer, but I'm just going to use this one for primer today. So I'm also going to hit my lids with this. Then I'm going to go back in with my sponge and I'm just going to smooth everything out. Just make sure everything is nice and blended, especially wherever my concealer is meeting my foundation. So let's go in for one more close-up so that we can see what it's looking like before I set it with powder. So I'm going to give you guys some side views here, and I do still really like it. I think it does look like a more flawless version of that original foundation. It doesn't look quite as like skin-like or as like undetectable, but I do think it looks really nice. And I feel like I am getting a soft matte finish. This one just says matte. To me, it looks like a soft matte finish. So I think it looks really nice. I'm going to go ahead and set it with my, as soon as I can find it, I'm going to set everything with my Pretty Vulgar setting powder. I'm just going to go back over my under eye area one more time. So lately I've been setting my entire face with a damp sponge, but I've also been using more hydrating finishes lately. So I feel like since this is a matte or like a soft matte finish, I think I'm going to set the rest of my face with a brush. Actually, when I did the ColourPop foundation review, I think I set my whole face with a brush for that one too. I can't remember, but I'm going to go in with a brush for this one. I just don't want to like completely set it as much as I would a hydrating foundation, because since this does have a matte finish, it's kind of like already set a little bit. I hope that makes sense. I just don't want to put too much powder on top of the matte foundation. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so here is my base makeup all applied and all set. And of course, putting the powder on it, it did make it look a little bit more matte, but just a little bit. I still think it looks really nice. So let me know what y'all think so far. I'm gonna do the rest of my makeup off camera, then we'll come back and then we'll start the wear test. Okay, you guys, so this is my finished look for today. So my feelings are still the same as when I first put the makeup on. I do still really like it. I do think it looks a bit more like I'm wearing makeup compared to the original foundation, but it looks nice. Not quite as skin-like as the original foundation, but I mean, even though they're claiming that, I feel like that's to be expected just because this is a matte finish. Again, they're saying matte. I feel like I'm getting more of like a soft matte. It's not like matte, but I feel like it looks really nice. Like if you've ever worn the original Fenty foundation, the Pro Filter Soft Matte one, I think it looks similar to that. I don't think it looks quite as matte as say Estee Lauder Double Wear, but I think it looks really nice. So I am still really liking it. I did already have to refresh the makeup around my lip area because I went like this, not thinking that fast, because my upper lip started to bead a little bit because I do sweat on my upper lip sometimes. But other than that, like I think it looks really nice. So normally when I do a wear test on a foundation, I usually go for like 6 to 8 hours, because for me that's pretty much all I need to see if it's something that I'm gonna like. I mean, even for 8 hours, that's a stretch for me to have a full face of makeup on for that long. I usually only wear like a full face of makeup if I'm going to like a special event or something like that. So I feel like 6-ish hours is pretty much the amount of time that I'm gonna have a full face of makeup on. But I feel like for this one, it's claiming to last up to 24 hours, which that could be kind of like anything really. It's not saying that it will last for 24 hours, but this is supposed to be a long lasting foundation, so I feel like I do need to stretch this wear test out a little bit longer. So I'm gonna see if I can do 10 to 12 hours today. That's gonna be really hard for me, but I'm gonna see if I can make it to the 10 to 12 hour mark for this one. So right now it is 8:06 in the morning, so we'll see how far I get. So I'll see you guys a little bit later on. Okay, you guys, I am back. It is 6:20 in the evening, so I'm very proud of myself because I had this foundation on for 10 hours, and that's like really long for me. So I do have like some good and some bad stuff to talk about. So you guys can definitely see that I am oily in my T-zone. Let me give you guys some side views here. Even though I am oily in the T-zone, I'm not nearly as shiny as I usually am with some other foundations that I've tried. My nose, however, so I put this makeup on at like 8 o'clock this morning. My nose actually started to get oily after only like 2 hours, and I was really surprised at that. But the rest of my face held up really nicely, which I've actually never seen that before. Like normally when a foundation starts to get oily, it's all throughout the T-zone, like consistently, I guess. With this one, it was just my nose that was getting shiny after only like 2 hours. The rest of my face really held up throughout the day. So it's like a little after 6 o'clock now. My face really just started to get shiny at about maybe a little after 5. So I was checking my face a lot throughout the day because I really wanted to catch it when it really started to get like this. So the makeup really did hold pretty nicely, except for like in the nose area. So one thing that I like to do when I test out foundations, I like to see, even though I would normally only have makeup on for maybe like 6 or so hours, if I do have to wear it for a long period of time, I like to see how the makeup refreshes if I do have to touch it up throughout the day. So I thought I had a piece of tissue. Okay, so I have a piece of tissue here. I'm just gonna take this and I'm just gonna blot off the excess oil in my T-zone, and then we're gonna reset it with powder to see what it looks like. So one thing I want to show you guys, I don't want to gross you out, but I just want you to see how much stuff is on the tissue, because it's usually a lot more than this that I would blot off. So for this to only have like that much excess after 10 hours, for me that's really good, because my face usually looks a lot more shiny than this after only like, you know, 6 or so hours. So for 10 hours, I think this is really good. So as expected, that right there made the makeup look a lot better. And I'm also going to go in and set it. So I'm going to reset with the Sephora Micro Smooth powder. This is the powder that I used in my last foundation review, which was the ColourPop foundation. I used to reset when I would do like foundation reviews. I would reset with the same loose powder that I put on in the beginning, but I think I'm going to start setting it with this, or at least some sort of pressed powder, because this is most likely the type of powder that I would have on me during the day. So I'm just going to go back and reset. And I know I probably wouldn't have this big brush on me if I'm like resetting my makeup while I'm out somewhere. I'm really just using this just to save time. This big brush just covers a lot of surface. So again, I'm only putting on a little bit of powder because this foundation does have a matte finish. So I don't want to put like too much powder on top of that. And again, as expected, it does make the makeup look like I just applied it, at least in my opinion. One thing I'm just noticing though, I feel like my blush is basically gone. I didn't even notice that until right now, but that aside, I do think the foundation looks pretty nice. So my final verdict on this, do I think this is like a skin-like foundation? No, it does look really nice, but it does look more like a soft matte finish as opposed to like a natural skin-like finish. It's definitely not as skin-like as the original foundation, which I think I've already said that like a million times in this video, but no, it's not skin-like, but I do think it looks really nice. I think if you really like the Fenty soft matte foundation, I think you would really like this. And I believe I said earlier that I don't think it's quite as matte as Estee Lauder Double Wear. I do think it's more comparable to that Fenty soft matte foundation. Do I think it's long wearing? Now, I didn't test this for 24 hours, so I mean, I'm not gonna ever test the foundation for that long, but I would consider this long wearing for me. Now, I've had this on for 10 hours, and I think for that amount of time it held up on me really nicely, and I have oily skin. I always feel like if I have a foundation that can last this long on me and not get very oily, it makes me think that someone with dry skin would not be able to wear this, because it curbed most of my oils for most of the day. So if you have dry skin, you might think this is a bit drying. I remember when the Fenty soft matte foundation came out, a lot of people with dry skin couldn't take that. I feel like you might have the same issue with this one. So for me, it's long wearing. If you consider like a 10-hour wear, you know, long, I feel like it definitely lasted that long on me. And would I buy this foundation again? I probably won't. Even though I like it, I think it looks nice, I think it's definitely wearable, I probably won't buy this again, just because even though I have oily skin, I've just been much more into like a hydrating finish lately. I will probably take this foundation and mix it with the original foundation just to get some use out of it. This is also a brand new bottle of foundation that I never even cracked this one open because I started using the Fenty foundation before I opened this. So I have these two brand new foundations to get through. I don't think I would ever use this one on its own just because it's a bit more matte than I'm looking for. So again, just to get some use out of it, I'm probably going to mix these. If you want to see these two mixed, if you want to see like what that finish looks like, let me know in the comments and I can do that in a future video. So I just feel like this is a nice foundation, don't get me wrong. I just feel like I don't really have a use for it, you know? So I don't think I would buy it again. If anything, like if I happen to run out of both of these Too Faced foundations, if anything, I'm definitely going to repurchase this one just because again, it's more hydrating and that's just the look that I've been going for lately. But overall, I think it's a good foundation. Like if you're someone who just likes to try out new foundations, if you're a foundation junkie, which I don't consider myself a foundation junkie, but if you are and you just like to try everything that's out there, I definitely think this is one worth trying out. If you liked that Fenty soft matte foundation, I think you would definitely like this. So those are my thoughts on this foundation. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really hope that you enjoyed the video today. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave today, and I hope to see y'all back here for my next video. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.